Sheriff Cooper lived with his wife, Emily, and their dog, Tommy. He had worn his badge for 30 years, and in those 30 years, not a single man had accused him of being anything less than honest. On this particular Tuesday morning, Cooper sat at his oak desk inside the sheriff's office. Papers were stacked high: land deeds, tax records, complaint letters, expense reports. Cooper pulled on his reading glasses and began flipping through them slowly. Then he found it. A land acquisition record, signed by Officer Alonzo Harris. Officer Alonzo Harris, the city's most decorated and powerful official. The numbers didn't add up. Then another file, then another. Public funds rerouted. Construction contracts awarded to ghost companies. Bribery receipts disguised as civic donations. Cooper laid each paper side by side across the desk, and the picture they painted was ugly and clear. Alonzo Harris was rotten to his very core. Cooper leaned back in his chair. The lamp flickered. Tommy lifted his head and looked up at him, reading the weight in his master's posture the way only a dog can.
I understand.
I know, boy, Cooper muttered. He patted Tommy's head, stood. He patted Tommy's head, stood up, and reached for his hat. Cooper rode out on his horse. Tommy bounded to the window of the office and stood on his hind legs, pressing his paws against the glass, watching his master ride down the dusty road, until the shape of sheriff and horse shrank to a speck and disappeared over the hill. The papers remained on the desk. The lamp burned low. Alonzo had a white colonial mansion behind a wrought iron gate, with a garden tended by 3 hired hands and a fountain that ran even in the dry season. Cooper slowed Roan to a halt outside the gate and stared. He had driven past this road dozens of times but had never stopped to truly look. Now, looking, his jaw tightened. On a government officer's salary, the thought sat in his chest like a stone. A servant opened the gate. Cooper dismounted, tied Roan to the post, and walked up the stone path, boots crunching with every step. Alonzo appeared on the veranda before Cooper even knocked. "Sheriff Cooper," he said warmly, spreading his arms. "What brings you all the way out here?" Cooper didn't smile. "How'd you manage all of this, Alonzo?" Alonzo's smile held. "Investments, family inheritance. You wouldn't understand finance, Cooper. It's a complicated—" "I know about the corruption," Cooper said quietly. The words landed like a stone dropped in still water. For just a moment, barely a breath, something cold passed across Alonzo's eyes. Then the smile returned, wider, more deliberate. "Come inside," he said, gesturing toward the door. "Let's sit and talk like civilized men. No need to stand out here in this heat." Cooper hesitated. His instincts told him something was wrong, but he needed a confession, or at the very least, an admission. He followed Alonzo inside. The interior of the mansion was cool and dark. Alonzo led Cooper to a sitting room and gestured to a leather armchair. A servant appeared almost immediately with a silver tray, 2 cups of coffee, steam curling from each. "Sit, sit," said Alonzo pleasantly, settling into his own chair. He poured generously, his back angled toward Cooper just long enough, just enough. Cooper accepted the cup. The coffee smelled rich and dark. He spoke firmly, laying out what he had found.
The evidence is conclusive. We must act now.
The records, the diverted funds, the fraudulent contracts. With each point, Alonzo nodded calmly, sipping his own coffee, completely unbothered.
Your insight is truly commendable. It's rare to find such clarity.
"You're a smart man, Cooper," Alonzo said finally. "Always have been." Cooper raised the cup to his lips and drank. Within minutes, the room began to blur. The cup slipped from his fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Cooper gripped the armchair, tried to stand,
Not
couldn't.
anymore.
The last thing he saw before darkness swallowed him was Alonzo's face, calm, patient, utterly without guilt. Sheriff Cooper hit the floor and did not get up. The next morning, Red Rock Hollow received its new sheriff.
Folks.
The town council, half of whom were already in Alonzo's pocket, moved with suspicious speed, citing Cooper's sudden heart failure and the town's urgent need for leadership. By noon, Alonzo Harris pinned the star to his chest and smiled at the crowd gathered
He'll
in the
bring
square.
order.
I hope he's the one.
He rode his black horse to the graveyard that afternoon with a procession of his men, not out of grief, but out of performance. At the graveside, Emily Cooper stood dressed in black, her face pale and drawn, her grief real and heavy. Tommy sat pressed against her leg, his amber eyes fixed on the fresh mound of dark earth.
I'm so sorry, ma'am. He was a good man.
God bless you, dear.
People whispered their condolences and moved on. But Alonzo and his men lingered. When the crowd thinned, Alonzo nudged his horse forward and looked down at Emily with cold authority.
Arrest her.
For the murder of Sheriff Cooper.
"Arrest her," he said flatly, "for the murder of Sheriff Cooper."
No! Stop! What are you doing?
Get up, ma'am! Move that beast! Back off, dog!
Deputies dragged Emily to her feet. Tommy erupted into frantic barking, snapping at their boots until one of the men kicked him aside. He tumbled into the grass and lay there, trembling, watching with wide, desperate eyes as Emily was led away in chains.
Don't follow me! Stay. I'll be back.
The courtroom was packed. Red Rock Hollow had never seen a trial like this. Alonzo stood before the judge, a thin, serious man named Judge Harlan, and delivered a convincing performance. Emily, he claimed, had poisoned her husband after discovering he intended to leave her. She was a desperate woman, a jealous wife. He painted her with every dark color he could find. Emily stood alone, no lawyer, no witnesses. Tears ran silently down her face. "If the charges are proven," Judge Harlan said gravely, "the penalty will be death." The courtroom went silent. And then, chaos. The heavy courtroom door burst open.
The dog! Look out! Move aside! He's got papers! Stop that dog!
Tommy came bounding down the center aisle, his mouth clamped around a thick bundle of papers. People gasped, shouted, scrambled out of his way. Tommy ran straight to Emily, leapt up, and pressed his head into her hand. Emily looked down. Her breath caught. She recognized the files, the same ones Cooper had spread across his desk that last morning. She gathered them with shaking hands and turned to the judge. "Your Honor," she said, her voice rising steady and clear, "my husband was not murdered by me. He was murdered because of this." She held the papers up. "These are records of Officer Alonzo's corruption. My husband found them. That is why he is dead." The courtroom erupted. Judge Harlan called for order, then spent 20 minutes reviewing every page in complete silence. The evidence was meticulous. Dates, signatures, amounts, names. Cooper had done his job perfectly, even in death. The judge looked up at Alonzo. Alonzo was already moving toward the door.
Out of my way! Sheriff! Stop him! Open up! Open up! Quickly now! Let's move! Faster! Make way! Clear the road! Look out! Get back!
He shoved a deputy aside, knocked over a bench, and ran. Outside, he threw himself onto his black horse and rode hard toward the tree line, kicking up a cloud of red dust as Red Rock Hollow stared after him in stunned silence. Back inside, Judge Harlan's gavel came down hard. $100,000 bounty on Alonzo Harris, wanted alive.
The accused is wanted, and a substantial bounty is hereby declared.
Word traveled fast in the West. By sundown, 2 bounty hunters, brothers named Cole and Reed Briggs, known from Tucson to the Missouri border, were already riding. They knew the terrain. They knew how a guilty man runs. Fast at first, then desperate, then sloppy. They found Alonzo's horse's tracks leading into the Blackwood, a dense stretch of forest east of Hollow, where the canopy was thick enough to kill the moonlight. Cole went left, Reed went right. They converged on Alonzo at a dry creek bed, where his horse had thrown a shoe and he'd been forced to stop. He reached for his gun. 2 pistols were already aimed at his chest. "Don't," said Cole quietly. They tied his wrists behind his back with rope, hauled him onto a spare horse, and rode back to Red Rock Hollow under a sky full of cold stars. The courtroom the next morning was even fuller than the day before, standing room only. Children sat on shoulders. Old men who hadn't left their porches in years pressed through the doors. Judge Harlan read the charges: corruption, fraud, abuse of power, and the murder of Sheriff Cooper, in a voice that left no room for argument. Alonzo stood in chains, his white shirt torn, his silver cufflinks gone, his practiced smile finally, completely gone. Life imprisonment, said the judge, without possibility of parole. The prison cart waited outside. 2 guards loaded Alonzo into it, locked the iron door. And the cart began to roll down the main street of Red Rock Hollow. People lined the road and watched in silence. Emily stood on the steps of the courthouse, the morning sun on her face, her hand resting on Tommy's head. The dog sat perfectly still beside her, watching the cart disappear around the bend, his tail moving in one slow, quiet wag. Justice, it turned out, didn't always ride in on a white horse. Sometimes it came bounding through a courtroom door with floppy ears and stolen papers, and it smelled like dust and devotion. Tommy had not forgotten his master, and because of that, neither would Red Rock Hollow.
This video is created for educational and storytelling purposes. The story is completely fictional. All visuals are AI generated. No real animals were used. This content is human-made with AI assistance and fully complies with YouTube's policies on educational and synthetic media.